Hi, my name is Shelton Fox. I'm the author of the Unwritten series. And in the last week or so, I've had a lot of things going on. I think there's been a lot of upheaval in our society, and I believe it's exposed a complete, what seems like a polarization, where we have citizens standing on what seem like very opposite sides and arguing about most everything. And when I grew up in the Deep South to parents that lived during segregation. I was raised in a evangelical Christian church, the daughter of a pastor. And I think back to what changed me, what brought me to the place where I am now, where I write about the topics I write about and where I believe what I believe. And it comes down to something very, very simple, something that I think everyone should do. There was a point when I was a teenager where I had a really good friend, a very patient friend, who looked at me one day and she said, "How do you know what you believe is right?" And I said, I believe it just because it's what God said. It's what I was told. It's what I believe. And she said, "But how do you believe that?" She got to the heart of the fact that I believed what I believed because my parents told me. It was what I was taught in church. It's what I was taught by the people that I looked up to, and the people that were put over me as teachers. However, it wasn't from actual research. It was just based on belief. She used the example, a very powerful example. She said, you think drugs are bad. You just say this drug is bad. How do you know if you've never tried it? If you look at something like marijuana, for someone who has cancer, for someone who is struggling with chemotherapy or in the last stages of cancer where their body's pretty much at war with itself, marijuana can be an extremely helpful drug. It can be what helps them to be able to eat, what settles their stomach, what allows them to be able to feel comfort in their last days. For children or people with severe epilepsy, cannabis has been found to help them relax, to help end their seizures, to help calm their mind and body, and to bring relief. Things inherently that you think are bad and you want to label as completely bad, when you start to research it, or if you try it, or if you're in a certain circumstance, you start to see it from a different light. This shaped me as a young adult and in my adult years till now, on this mission of educating myself, of researching anything that I thought that I knew, anything that I was told, beginning to research not just why I was told that, not researching why the people who taught me believed that, but researching who taught them, going back to where the actual idea originated and other ideas around it. Where did those ideas originate? If you look at the what you call the hero, or what's the good, well, then what is the bad? And where did that originate? And who thought that was bad? Who created that original idea that it was bad? When could it be good? I know I'm kind of rambling, but this became a very enlightening exercise. I started to look for example, at religions. I was raised a Christian, so in college I started to read texts of other religions, Taoism, Buddhism. I read the Quran, and I started to kind of peel back the layers from, well, I was taught this was the only religion, the only right religion. But when I'm reading the Quran, for example, so much of it sounds a lot like the Bible. When I start investigating these other religions, what happened is I started to find less differences and more similarities, because I wasn't looking at it through the filter that someone told me I needed to, but I was reading it and making my own conclusions. Years later, I decided to take it a step further. Instead of just reading these texts, read them more in depth, to do some study on them and do some practice. Practice a little bit of each religion, see what I found there. And it was a mind-blowing experience. It changed me completely as a human being. So what I want to challenge anyone who is watching this to start to expand your mind a little bit, to kind of break out of exactly what you're taught. Let's use the drug example. So if, for example, you believe that marijuana is wrong, that cannabis is just bad, well, start to research it a little bit. Start to look at helpful uses for cannabis. Not just look at sources, for example, from the people that agree with you, but start to look at actual scientific sources. Take a look at what the opposing sources, the sources that think cannabis is wonderful, that believe it's wonderful. Start to read from their point of view. Yes, it might make you feel stronger in your stance, but it also may open your mind. You might start to come across scientific studies, personal experiences, religious experiences that are based on it. You might even come across some sources that they vibe with you, where this person is kind of in your experience and you're able to put yourself in their shoes. And it kind of helps you to have a little bit of empathy, a little bit of understanding about why people are behind cannabis, why people believe that the uses of hemp and how it can replace a lot of the resources that we are wastefully using in our society. The point of the exercise is to better understand what you believe and where you stand, not just by what you've been told, not just by what you believe, but by examining the issue on every level from every aspect. You might come out of it totally saying, nope, I was right in what I believed in the beginning. This is wrong and it's only wrong. But at least you'll be a lot more educated in that decision. At least when you look back and people say, so how did you come to that understanding? It's not just, well, it's because of what I believe. You have now solid background evidence and possibly even personal experience to go with that.